Taste Holdings Limited has announced the acquisition of Arthur Kaplan Jewellers. And on the line is Carlos Gonzaga, who's the CEO of Taste. Good afternoon to you, Carlos. I've always been fascinated by your business model. On the one hand, you've got the food business, on the other hand, the jewellery. And of course, Arthur Kaplan is a grand old name in the jewellery business. How does this change your business model? Does it obviously shifts the balance somewhat towards the jewellery side?
Yeah, good. So good afternoon, David. Look, it does, but probably only temporarily, to be quite honest. I think that if you look at our business, as you rightly say, we've had these two businesses. Jewelry and food, despite the imbalance in store numbers, have contributed roughly half to operating profits for the last 4 or 5 years now. So really, this is not a change in strategy. It's really an extension of our existing one. And we still think there is great opportunity within our food division, and that's, we look at both divisions all the time, to be quite honest.
Well, what difference will Arthur Kaplan make in terms of the marketing side? I've been told that it's further up market than the present business. Is that right?
Look, it certainly is. I mean, Arthur Kaplan is that level of jeweler that's above who NWJ caters for in the main. Certainly the fact that it's a leading retailer of Swiss watches in Southern Africa would lend to that. But it also sells jewelry. We've only got a couple of NWJ stores that are represented in that jewelry segment, whereas all of Arthur Kaplan stores are. So we think it's a very nice segregation in terms of how we get to those consumers that are sort of affluent, aspirational, as we call them.
Now, I was talking earlier to Wilhelm Herzog of RCM in Cape Town, and he was asking, he was interested in the possibilities for franchising, and of course, I was saying that franchising sounds easy when you've got a strong brand, but it's not as easy as it looks, and it does mean that you have to run things differently. You have to think about things differently. So what about franchising with the jewellery side and the food side?
So, we certainly are franchisors in terms of our store split, although in the last few years we have increased our corporate-owned stores in NWJ from 17 to 39 now, out of the total of 77. Arthur Kaplan is not a business that we'd consider franchising, and the main reason really is that when you are custodian of brands like Rolex, Breitling, Omega, Tag, and Longines, you can't really run the risk of handing over control of such revered brands to somebody else. So it's certainly not something that we would look at, given the fact that we're custodians of those great brands.
What sort of payment are you making here for what is the 100% of the company? And do the present owners of Arthur Kaplan, the management, do they continue in the business?
Yeah, so the initial purchase price, the initial down payment of 85 million for the shares, and then the existing owner of the business, Dean Tavares, staying in. There's an earn-out period until the middle of next year. But really, we've got a shared vision about where we can grow the Arthur Kaplan brand, and really our luxury goods segment, if you will, within Southern Africa. So Dean is going to stay on for as long as I suppose we can all work together. But the plan is that the existing management stay on. There are no real changes that we foresee, and the deal wasn't done on a synergistic basis. Any synergies that do actually come would be really on the upside. But yeah, I think as we did when we bought NWJ, we kept management stayed in. And that's the case for this as well.
Well, we've been saying on the show for some time now, virtually every company that reports, certainly those that are exposed to consumers, talk about challenging conditions. Now, you, of course, have two different kinds of consumer propositions. How do you see things at the moment? We've got the medium-term statement coming this week. Annabelle Bishop a moment ago saying, well, perhaps inflation will not push interest rates up, inflation come down, oil price and so on. How optimistic are you on the consumer in the next year or two?
So, look, I think broadly speaking, the consumer we know is under a bit of pressure, but we certainly are not seeing that among the leading brands. So, in brands that service upper income consumers, we're still seeing good growth. Certainly not the heady growth that we saw some years ago, but we're still seeing that. Arthur Kaplan being one of them. We've had positive same-store sales growth in our NWJ business for 3 years now, although it has been slowing, but it's still been positive in the last 6 months. So, certainly the consumer is under pressure, but we think that there's still enough disposable income around for the good brands to win some market share.
Well, that was Carlos Gonzaga, the CEO of Taste Holdings.